All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Did you know that according to recent industry analyses, nearly 60% of B2B sales strategies literally miss the mark? And it's usually simply because they rely on outdated, vendor-centric methodologies. Well, today, we're going to unpack a highly dense, incredibly important module on transforming your entire sales approach from the ground up, so you can fix exactly that. We're looking deeply at the core methodology of strategic value creation, and specifically, how it directly ties into your Salesforce methodology. The source material we are breaking down today represents a massive, fundamental shift in business strategy. So let's get started. So I want you to ask yourself right now, are you just talking about value or are you actually building it? It's a critical evaluation of whether your current sales strategy is passive or active. Just imagine walking into a major pitch, launching into a rehearsed monologue about your product's 45 amazing new features, and watching the prospect's eyes completely glaze over. We've all been there, right? Or at least heard the horror stories. That old model of simply telling people why your product is great is dead. You have to really ask yourself if your team is just delivering that standard feature dump, or if they're stepping into the trenches with the customer to forge real, tangible worth that simply didn't exist before they walked into the room. Now, this is where we see a massive paradigm shift from merely broadcasting a pitch to actively partnering to generate worth. On one side, we have communicating values. This is kind of the old transactional way. It's just the act of conveying what you already have sitting on the shelf. On the other side, we have creating values. This is the evolution. This means the interaction between your sales force and your customer produces entirely new value. Instead of just selling a client a piece of software, a rep who is acting as a partner might actually sit down and co-create a new go-to-market strategy with that client, utilizing the software to unlock new revenue streams. It's literally the difference between handing someone a map and actually grabbing a shovel to help them build the road. The entire module we're exploring today is dedicated to making this exact transition. To really wrap our heads around this complex topic, we're going to break down the 5-part structure of this methodology. First, communicating versus creating value. Second, understanding your sales force. Third, types of customers. Fourth, segmenting the sales effort. And finally, number 5, matching customer investment. Kicking things off with step 1, communicating versus creating value. Okay, so moving from communicating to creating value means a total overhaul of your mindset. You are no longer just a vendor, you're a strategic consultant. Let's look at what this actually looks like in practice. A traditional rep walks in and says, hey, our new servers have double the processing speed. That's communicating value. A value-creating rep walks in, analyzes the client's bottleneck, and says, by restructuring your data pipeline using our servers, we can specifically lower your daily operating costs by 18% within the first quarter. The source material emphasizes this transition as the absolute baseline. If you don't grasp this difference, the rest of the methodology kind of just falls apart. It is the filter for every subsequent step. Moving right along to section 2, understanding your sales force. Look, before you can go out and create value for anyone else, you have got to look inward. You must first fully understand the capabilities of your own sales force. You can't optimize an engine if you haven't opened the hood to inspect it, right? Who is actually on your team? What are their true strengths? Top organizations don't just audit their teams based on past quota attainment. They evaluate psychological readiness. Are your reps psychologically prepared to handle complex, consultative, long-cycle sales? Or are they built for quick transactional wins? It requires a ruthlessly honest assessment of your internal capacity before you ask your people to execute a complex strategic shift in the market. So, first up, you have to evaluate the Salesforce structure. Think about it. If your team is structured purely around daily cold calling volume and quick metrics, they are inherently misaligned for a value creation strategy, which obviously requires deep, time-intensive research and relationship building. Second, and this is absolutely crucial, you must analyze the current method used to communicate value to your customers. You have to diagnose exactly how your team is pitching right now before you can train them to start creating value. You need to map out the baseline of their current conversations to find out exactly where those outdated transactional habits are hiding. That brings us to step 3, types of customers. Here's the thing about creating value. Your audience is definitely not a monolith. You simply cannot use a one-size-fits-all approach. The source material outlines specific customer classifications. For example, you have your standard customers. These folks might just need a transactional purchase, where your goal is simply to convey value. They want the product, they want a good price, and they want to move on. But then you have your strategic customers.
These require a bespoke, highly customized solution where you step in and act as a partner. By forcing your team to categorize clients into these distinct buckets, the methodology ensures that your sales force aligns the proper, customized sales method to the specific reality of the business sitting across the table. Now that we know who we're talking to, let's hit step 4, segmenting the sales effort. Once you've categorized those customers, this methodology demands a rigorous segmentation of your sales effort by value. Specifically, it breaks down like this. High value gets 60% of your resources, medium gets 30%, and low gets 10%. This means you absolutely do not treat every prospect equally. Consider this anecdote from the sources. A mid-sized tech company was completely exhausting its sales engineers by sending them to every single pitch, regardless of deal size. They were burning out and closing at a flat rate. Well, when they adopted this 60-30-10 rule, dedicating 60% of their elite engineering time exclusively to high-value, strategic partners, they literally doubled their revenue in under a year. The highest value opportunities must get the largest allocation of your team's strategic effort. It is a highly disciplined approach to maximizing your impact.
And finally, we arrive at the ultimate goal in Section 5, matching customer investment.
This is where it all comes together. The culmination of understanding your force, categorizing your customers, and segmenting your effort leads to this final sequence, a 3-step methodology to match the customer's investment. Step 1 is assess. You must accurately determine the operational readiness of the client to actually absorb and implement your solution. Step 2 is align. This means ensuring your own back-end delivery and support teams can actually fulfill the massive strategic value your sales reps just promised out in the field. And step 3 is execute. When a customer commits their capital and their trust to your solution, your organization has to step up and deploy resources to match that investment in real time. This is where the concept of creating value truly materializes into a tangible working partnership.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. If your customer invests today, is your sales force actually ready to match it tomorrow? We've walked through this entire journey together in this explainer, from shifting your mindset away from just communicating value, to auditing your team's psychology, strictly categorizing your customers, and aggressively segmenting your effort with that 60-30-10 rule. But honestly, it all comes down to execution. A failure at this final execution phase completely breaks the trust you built during the strategic partnership phase. So challenge yourself right now and critically assess your own organization. Are you truly prepared to deliver strategic value creation? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope it provided a powerful, structured path for overhauling your own methodology. Keep learning, keep building real value, and I'll see you next time.